The sunlight spilled softly through the tall windows of the lakeside cafe, painting long, golden lines across the polished wooden tables. People chatted, the day seemed warm and ordinary, yet in one corner of that cafe, a moment unfolded that would stay in everyone's memory. Armand Hale stood with quiet steadiness, a worn backpack slung over his shoulder, his young daughter Rose leaning lightly against his side. Across from them stood Seraphine Vale, the heiress whose name was spoken with admiration and envy throughout the city, yet in that instant, she wasn't the invincible figure the world knew. Her eyes trembled with something fragile, something real. And when the silence grew thick enough to feel like air turning to water, Armand spoke with a calm voice that carried more certainty than wealth ever could. "She's with me." The room stilled, and the world seemed to hold its breath. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us what truly matters, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to. Your support helps more hearts find hope. Armand had not always been this steady. Years before, he had worked as a carpenter in a small workshop, living a simple life with his wife, Alma, and their bright-eyed daughter, Rose. They were not wealthy, but they had love that felt rich. Alma loved the smell of wood shavings on Armand's clothes, and Armand loved how Alma filled their home with music and quiet laughter. Life had been soft and warm, like sunlight filtering through curtains. Then illness came, unbidden and unstoppable. Armand tried everything: extra shifts, loans, selling tools he once believed he would pass to Rose one day, but life does not always bow to effort. Alma's departure was gentle, but it left a silence so deep that it echoed in the bones. Suddenly, Armand was a single father. He remembered standing in their kitchen the morning after the funeral, Rose sitting on the floor hugging her stuffed bear, and he could not even bring himself to speak. He felt like breaking apart would be easier. Yet when Rose looked up at him, eyes puffy, cheeks tear-streaked, he realized something. She had lost her mother. She could not lose him too. He breathed in, wiped his eyes, and made their first breakfast together without Alma. It was burnt toast and warm milk, and they laughed at how awful it tasted. That small laugh became their promise to each other. They would keep going. The years that followed were not glamorous. Armand worked in construction during the day, delivered groceries in the evenings, and repaired furniture in the quiet hours of the night. Their home was small but full of love: drawings taped to walls, mismatched mugs, the scent of tea and wood, and Rose's gentle humming. Armand taught her that love was not about grand gestures but quiet, consistent care. He told her stories about Alma, about the music she loved, about the way she used to dance barefoot in the kitchen. Rose kept her mother alive through memory, while Armand kept her alive through devotion. Then came the day everything changed again, though neither of them knew it yet. At the construction site Armand worked on, new management arrived. The project was funded by Vale Enterprises, the largest corporation in the city, led by the powerful and notoriously stern Magnus Vale. And with him, visiting the site to learn and observe, came his daughter, Seraphine Vale. She carried an air of elegance, dressed simply but in a way that still radiated quiet wealth. Yet when Armand saw her eyes, he saw something surprising. They held exhaustion, like someone who had lived a life full of everything except peace. Seraphine was expected to be flawless, strong, and endlessly composed. Her world was marble floors, charity galas, whispered comparisons, and loneliness wrapped in silk. She had learned early that affection could be conditional, and approval was currency more valuable than comfort. She visited the construction site as part of an effort to understand real work, but she expected only professional interactions, respectful distance, and predictable outcomes. What she found instead was a man who spoke to everyone with genuine kindness, who carried quiet strength without arrogance, who offered steady presence rather than performance. The first time Seraphine saw Armand kneel beside a worker having a panic moment on a high scaffold, she watched him calm the man not with authority, but with human understanding. The first time she saw Rose run to her father when he arrived at the cafe after work, dusty and tired yet smiling like she was the best part of his day, she felt a longing she hadn't known she was missing. One afternoon, Seraphine saw Rose sitting alone with her sketchbook outside the cafe, waiting for Armand. She approached, unsure how to start a conversation with a child, yet Rose simply smiled and invited her to sit. They talked about drawings and colors, about memories of music, about simple joys. It was the most real conversation Seraphine had had in months. Armand arrived then, surprised but not displeased. That day turned into many. Seraphine joined them for daytime walks by the lake, small meals at the cafe, quiet laughter that didn't require effort or masks. People noticed. Judgments whispered. The Heiress and the Carpenter. The worlds that should never touch. Seraphine did not care. Armin, however, understood the risk. He knew hearts could bleed when worlds collided. Yet love blooms where warmth is, not where logic says it should. Slowly, carefully, they fell for each other. Magnus Vale did not approve. When he first heard rumors, he dismissed them as tabloid fiction. When proof reached him, he confronted Seraphine with the cold certainty of a man accustomed to control. He spoke of reputation, alliances, legacy. But Seraphine spoke of happiness, of peace, of feeling seen. He could not understand, because he had never valued those things. So on a bright day, with the sun warm and gentle, Magnus arrived unannounced at the cafe where Armin and Seraphine often met. The place fell quiet the moment he walked in. His presence filled spaces the way storms fill skies. He walked to their table, towering, authority radiating from him. He looked at Armin like he was nothing more than a shadow on the floor. And with a voice that could slice glass, Magnus said that Seraphine was leaving with him. For a moment, no one breathed. Seraphine's hand trembled. She had faced entire boards of directors, hostile investors, critics, media storms, yet she froze under the weight of her father's anger. The cafe seemed smaller, tighter, pressing in. Magnus reached to take her by the wrist. That was when Armin stood. He did not raise his voice. He did not posture. He simply stepped in front of Seraphine, with Rose watching from her chair, her small hands clenched tightly on the edge of the table. Armin's voice carried quiet power, the kind that did not need to be loud to be heard. She's with me. The words were not a claim of ownership. They were a promise, of choice, of safety, of love. The cafe held stillness like a held breath. Seraphine exhaled, like she had been underwater for years. Magnus paused, surprised by the calm defiance. But in that moment, Seraphine stepped forward. She stood next to Armin. Not behind. Not waiting. With him, sometimes strength is not in force, but in choosing what matters. The following weeks were not easy. Magnus did not change in a day. But Seraphine did not step back, and Armin did not waver. Rose drew pictures of the three of them holding hands beneath a blue sky. And slowly, Magnus began to notice things that wealth had never given him: the way Seraphine smiled now, soft and warm instead of strained; the way Rose reminded him of a childhood he once had before ambition hardened him; the way Armin treated people with a dignity that could not be purchased. He learned, not quickly, not gracefully, but he learned the cafe remained their place. Their story did not end in sudden perfection, but in something more powerful: steady growth, chosen love, and healing that felt real. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share the video. Subscribe to Kindness Journal so more stories of compassion and humanity can find the people who need them most.